description of what kind of content you're working with, what materials you're working with.
Yeah. So, I mean, I work with oil paint and graphite. Those are sort of my two favorite mediums.
They were then and they are now as well.
Yeah, like I really got into the idea of like large scale drawing in undergrad. Like I was making larger drawings, and a book that really kind of opened my eyes was Vitamin D, and that's just kind of a overview of like contemporary drawing.
It was.
It was. So that kind of allowed me like the freedom to like make these sort of more open-ended drawings at the time. Like they were different from what, I don't really have any in the slides here, but you want me to talk about process now?
Well, I'm in your content at that point. I'm trying to remember, I've seen that work, but.
Yeah, it was kind of, they were landscapes of like eroding material and like plant life and sort of like things kind of morphing, like so like you'd have something liquid and then turning into dust and then turning into sort of a solid object. And this kind of carries through my work now, but like I have sort of a strange relationship with nature. Like I'm very involved in sort of looking and observing nature, but I'm very distant from actually like being in nature. And that's too like coming from, Colorado and living basically in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. Like I was always sort of surrounded by nature, but I'm one of those people like I like to smell the flowers, but I don't necessarily like plant the flower. Does that make sense? So it's like a distance from it, and that's sort of in still life too. That kind of like it's just like this observation of things.
In the history of stuff.
Yeah, the same thing with like Botanical Illustration. It's just so I guess like the earlier works started to hinge on those ideas of.
At this point, you're looking at work from what eras, what culture eras?
Well, like of course like Peter Bruegel, Hieronymus Bosch. So what is that like the 15th century, 16th century, and then really like Dutch Golden Age, so like William van Alst, Peter Cleese, all the Vanitas, kind of still life, but really like I was always sort of focusing on like the still life or like the plant material more so than like the human body. So that's one thing is like I don't really include the figure, and I haven't done that in a while. It's always been sort of absent. So, of course, the work then becomes more like anthropomorphic because you start to kind of substitute like the desire to like depict the body, but you start to do it through plants. Like one of my I'm trying to remember his name, which is right now. Oh, no, one of my favorite still life painters is Raphael Peale, but he's an American painter, and he was active like in the early 19th century, and he's someone like I really look at for like trying to, like when you find a face in like an ear of corn or like a watermelon becomes like a stomach, like those sort of things really excite me.
Yeah, you're not incapable of rendering the figure. You had a pretty traditional education, so it's not something you're avoiding, but it is interesting. Creating very biomorphic.
Yeah, and I also like the idea of like, there existed like a hierarchy, and still life painters were like the lowliest of those, like they were paid the least, and they were just sort of like, there was like a trend of, like tulip mania and all those things. Like it was more decorative, and I kind of like that idea of like being at like the bottom feeder.
It's very related to images and all pop art, right? It's taking from what is considered a lowly art form and ennobling it.
Right.
It's interesting. But then the transition into graduate school, what were the motivations for that after taking a year plus off? Is that right?
Well, again, I mean, it was just, wanting to be back in school and just wanting, I think there's also like kind of a safety net there as well as like, you know, you're in school, so like you can't be like you just have, can't be bothered, like you're still like in some type of like learning situation, so you can kind of like remove yourself from reality in a sense, I don't know, in a sense, like.
But you transitioned very specifically to the East Coast. Was there any
Right.
specific motivation there?
No, just like looking at schools, and there wasn't really like a relation. I didn't have any kind of relationship to like a specific like land that I need to be in, or like kind of an environment I need to be in, but just again like looking for a school that would fit.
So then you're in graduate school at the Yale School of Art, and your process, I think, developed kind of consistently from your break into being in the program. But what were the major shifts that occurred? Because graduate school is a lot shorter. You're there for 2 years rather than 4 to 6 years.
Right. So I think like you kind of just hit the ground running. It's a very intensive program, and like you have your own studio, and you're almost like living with the other artists in the program because you all have your own studios in the same building. So it just, you know, it becomes intense, and the emotions, and like you put more of yourself into the work, so you become increasingly more vulnerable as you make your work. But also then through that vulnerability, you become more connected to it. So it really starts to become like a part of you, I guess. And like you start to think about, like at that point I started to think about the studio as like a brain that you're walking into every day, that, you know, encompasses everything that you're sort of interested in, including like everything that you're putting into your body, like your food scraps, and, you know, what you're drinking, and, you know, whatever. Like it's all surrounding you. So like that's sort of interesting. It becomes like a tomb, and, you know, like of course not Francis Bacon. Who am I thinking of? The other Francis Bacon. Yeah, you know, and just like having like, so yeah, just like really like starting to like really fully like engage in the work, and just have more on the line, and just, you know, there's constant critiques, and you just have to start, you know, publicly speaking and being in front of panels and being in front of a lot of your peers who are artists, and of course, like, you know, the dreadful kind of the leakage of competition starts to happen, which is just, I don't know, you have to get used to that. But everything's just intensified, but it's short, you know, it's only 2 years, so, and then it's over. And then again, it's like you're left with, all right, so what to do next?
How physically did the work transition? Like if we were just looking at it from a distance, what was the content shift? What was the material shift?
Yeah, I think like, well, there was sort of like an arms race in the program, so like scale shifted, like some of the paintings you've seen, like that's really tiny. But yeah, some of the paintings got like really large, and I started like exploring like color, like using color to be more emotive, but like also like the way I was making work started to become more about the content of the work, but also like having to figure out strategies to like move quicker, because my work is pretty, like it said, like some of the drawings take, you know, a couple months to make, even the smaller ones. So figuring out strategies to like move through the work. And yeah, I mean, content-wise, it started to become more like micro, so like more concentration, like in one sort of singular kind of moment than like I kind of abandoned landscapes, even though like the still lives are sort of like landscapes, but I started to get rid of like the foreground, middle ground, background scenario, just had things kind of like up front. And also like I shifted to like things, like they got flat, like even though like there's red, like there's shadow and light, but everything got sort of flatter, almost like a screen in a sense. And So that started, I guess, like some kind of like compression or something.
And we should say the images up here are mostly recent work and work that's up in the show right now, but not all of it.
Yeah, there's none of the work in the show is in this slideshow.
But this isn't work from undergraduate.
No, this is all graduate work and then after graduate school.
So then after graduate school, you transition into teaching and you stay settled on the East Coast.
Right.
And that's a very good transition, like after that moment, and then you develop more of a sustainable, everybody develops a sustainable practice after that.
Yeah, like I needed stability, because stability helps the practice and just knowing like what's happening next. So that was really kind of, and I wanted to teach, and that was part of also getting my master's degree as well, because I knew even like when I took lessons as a kid, like I wanted to be an art teacher as well.
Okay, so that was a practical motivation for graduate school.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah, that was part of the decision as well.
Okay. So then after school, you work on trying to find a stable situation, but you wanted to talk shop a little bit too in terms of the nuts and bolts of your practice. So
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who are interested in just how kind of these are made and just like, to talk shop, for like the graphite drawings, so basically like, I'm constantly kind of collecting references.
And this is how you work now?
This is how I work now. So like I doodle a lot and just like kind of push out a lot of thumbnails and just like little tiny sketches of a general idea. And then I will hunt kind of areas of the city, like I'll find like, garbage, or I've like rotted fruit in my house. Like I'll just leave a watermelon out and just like set it up on plastic and just have it rot. And then like I'll kind of put certain lights over it, like a pink light or a green light. These are more so for like the color paintings. And then just sort of like look at all the sort of textural qualities that are happening. So these things will become, they'll go from like, this beautiful reds to browns. And like, I get really excited about those kind of changes in nature. So I'll do that from life, and then I'll just like take a ton of photos. I'm always kind of photographing outside, just like little moments I find like of like Cheetos in the corner of like a bus station, or just like all those. To me, those are like, that's what I get really excited about. And
your relationship to the space you're in terms of your urban environment. You're in like a kind of remote area of Brooklyn, and you have been for a few years, right?
Yeah, I'm in Bay Ridge, which is like kind of the bottom of the borough. So like Red Hook, Park Slope, and then Bay Ridge. And so they're always kind of conditioned from the environment. But after like sort of the collection of references, like specifically for the drawings, I used to work from like left to right, kind of like a Xerox machine, so that you don't like smudge as much. But now I kind of work all over the drawing, and I just like keep a piece of tracing paper or like Mylar under my hand, and I use like a combination of powdered graphite. I'll use like a 2H, 4B, 2B for like my pen.